This might be the most predictable Pixel upgrade in years, and that's exactly why the Pixel 11 could end up disappointing a lot of people. Before we jump in, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that like button. It really helps me keep bringing you more tech breakdowns like this one. New leaks are giving us an early look at Google's next flagship, the Pixel 11, and at first glance, it looks almost identical to the Pixel 10. Not similar in spirit, actually similar in design. And while there are a couple of noticeable tweaks, the overall story here is very much same phone, slightly refined. Now that might not sound like a big deal, but in a market where competition is heating up fast, playing it safe can be riskier than trying something bold. So let's break down what's actually changing and why it may or may not matter. Starting with the design, the Pixel 11 continues Google's mouse signature look, the horizontal camera bar on the back. This will be the third year in a row we're seeing this design language, which tells you Google is confident in its identity. But this time, there's a small twist. The entire camera bar is now black. On the Pixel 10, the camera bar blended in more with the phone's color, especially around the flash. On the Pixel 11, that contrast is much more pronounced. It's a subtle shift, but visually it makes the camera module stand out more. Whether you like that or not will come down to personal taste, but it does give the phone a slightly sharper, more defined look. The second noticeable change is thinner bezels, and honestly, this is probably the most meaningful visual upgrade. The Pixel 10 had slightly thicker borders compared to other flagship phones, so reducing that should make the Pixel 11 feel more modern and immersive. It's one of those changes you don't notice immediately, but you definitely feel when you use the phone. Other than that, though, there's not much new happening on the outside. The overall shape, size, and layout are basically unchanged. It's still expected to feature a 6.3-inch LTPO AMOLED display, and even the body thickness is only slightly reduced. So, if you've seen or used a Pixel 10, you already have a very good idea of what the Pixel 11 will look and feel like. And this is where things get interesting, because this kind of refinement over reinvention approach isn't unique to Google. Every major smartphone company does it. Apple does it, Samsung does it. Once a design works, companies tend to stick with it and make incremental improvements year over year. But the difference is those companies usually pair subtle design changes with big internal upgrades or standout features that justify the new model. So what about the Pixel 11? Well, based on early reports, it could be powered by a new chipset built on a 2-nanometer process. That's a big deal in terms of performance and efficiency. It should make the phone faster while also improving battery life. So even if the design feels familiar, the experience could still get a meaningful boost. There's also talk of a modem switch, possibly moving away from Samsung to a MediaTek M90 modem. That could improve connectivity and power efficiency, especially in real-world usage, where signal stability matters a lot. In terms of memory and storage, it looks like Google is sticking with 12 gigabytes of RAM and 128 gigabytes of base storage. Solid, but not groundbreaking. One interesting addition could be an under-display infrared camera for secure face unlocking. If that actually makes it into the final product, that would be a pretty useful upgrade, especially for people who prefer face unlock over fingerprint sensors. But here's the bigger picture. Even with these potential upgrades, the Pixel 11 doesn't sound like a major leap forward. It sounds like a refinement of an already solid formula, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. But it does raise an important question. Is that enough anymore? The smartphone market is getting more competitive every year. Designs are converging, features are overlapping, and brands are fighting harder to stand out. Even companies that used to take risks are now playing it safer, but that also means it's harder to get excited about new releases. Google's Pixel lineup has actually been gaining momentum recently. More people are noticing it, more people are considering it, and it's finally starting to feel like a serious competitor in the flagship space, which is why this moment feels so important. Instead of pushing forward aggressively, Google seems to be taking a more cautious approach with the Pixel 11, and while that might help maintain consistency, it could also slow down the momentum they've been building. Because at the end of the day, people don't just want a slightly better version of last year's phone. They want something that feels new, something that justifies the upgrade. And based on what we know so far, the Pixel 11 might struggle to deliver that feeling. Of course, there's still time before the official launch, and a lot can change. But if these leaks are accurate, the Pixel 11 is shaping up to be a familiar face, with just enough tweaks to stay relevant, but maybe not enough to truly stand out. What's your thoughts on this? Let me know in the comments section. See you in the next video. Take care.